Welcome to the NOSA Unleashed podcast, where we want to expose and remove the stigma surrounding mental health by discussing real life challenges and obstacles that keep us paralyzed and fearful to move forward. Let us inspire you to believe there is more to life than what you are currently experiencing. Now is the time to end the silence and pursue the path to purpose and fulfillment. We will do this together because no one stands alone. Welcome back to the NOSA Unleashed podcast. I'm Laura Burgoyne, joined here with my sister Connie Blackwood, as we are continuing the conversation from last time about, really evaluating what's important to you. And today we want to focus on boundaries. What are boundaries? How do we put boundaries up to protect our time, protect, what's important to us, and not allow others to really take advantage of us? So, Connie, welcome to the conversation.
Thanks for having me. This one's really important to me. I think for a lot of my life, I didn't have first clue what a boundary was and
Mm-hmm.
lived my life accordingly. And people walked all over me all the time. And I had the hardest time ever saying no to anyone. And I struggled so hard with just being myself to the point where sometimes I didn't even know who I was because I kept saying yes to everyone else. And then you lose yourself when you don't actually know what you should be saying yes to and what you should be saying no to and what boundaries you should have and how to protect yourself. And I found a lot of times I would just lose myself in whoever I was trying to please, and it was not helpful for me. So as I started learning these things, I actually realized how important they are for me to be able to stand strong and have confidence in who I am, and to also know that I'm protecting my time for the things that are super important for me and my family. And knowing that whatever I put my hand to will benefit me and my family, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, that's been huge.
Absolutely. I went through a major season in my life where I had to start putting up a lot of boundaries because, similar to you, I went through, the first over half of my life, probably two-thirds of my life, with absolutely zero boundaries. And it played an incredible toll on my life. And through the help of my counselor, actually, he said, Laura, you need boundaries. And it was a lot of work. Like, we had to go through a lot of work. And one of the most profound things he said to me was, you can say no, and you don't have to explain why.
Mm,
That was liberating for me, because what would happen is, when I tried to have a boundary and I would say to somebody, I'm sorry, I can't do that, or I can't be that for you. But then I would always give them a reason why. Because I'm
mm,
busy, or because I have this happening, or because of this reason. And that person would always come back with a solution. Oh, well,
mm,
you can do this, or, you know, you can do this, and so that you can still do this for me. And then would have no way out, right? And
mm-hmm,
so I always felt suckered back in. I always felt manipulated, or um, really taken advantage of, right? And when my counselor said that to me, like, at first I thought that's impossible, to like tell someone that I can't do that for you without giving them an answer, right? But I actually started doing it. And I would just say very simple little messages like, "Oh, thank you for thinking about me, but I'm not available." And
mm-hmm,
I didn't say why, right? Or, "I can't do that for you. I hope that you can find someone else." Right? Without saying why. And really absolutely removed that other person's um, ability to come and try to tell me why my reason wasn't good enough, right? And why
mm-hmm.
I still needed to do what they wanted me to do, even though it would be to the detriment of myself, right? So that was so powerful to learn. And the more I implement that, and the more I do that, and the more boundaries I put up, the easier I find it is to do boundaries.
I agree. And I think it's also important for my mental health too. Like, there are some things I've said yes to because I felt like it was almost my obligation. and I wanted to help.
Mhm.
And it seemed like the longer it went on, the less relationship and connection I had with the person I was actually trying to help. And it was not good for my mental health at all.
Yeah.
And I had to say, we at the beginning I said I could do it for this long, and I need to stop. So you need to find some other way of doing this. And I kept my boundary, and I'm so happy I did, because my mental health is much better. I was like I was struggling really hard, especially with that relationship, right? And
Mhm.
so I had to do that. And it wasn't easy, but at the same time, the what I can do now is so much better, because that would take up an entire day of my week.
Yeah.
An entire day. Like, there's so much you can get done in a day, right? Like, there's no way I could do everything I'm doing now if I
Mhm.
had that day gone. Like, and so I'm helping so many more people by not having that complete day just gone.
Mhm.
So it's been so beneficial and so necessary. So sometimes you have to make these decisions also for your mental health, not just your physical health, because if this if the thing that you've said yes to isn't something that's giving you life, or if it's something, if a person's taking advantage of you, or if um, that relationship is actually deteriorating, it can be very hard on your mental health. So you
Mhm.
need to prioritize your mental health as much as you do your physical health.
Yeah, and actually I just recently had to put up another boundary. And what I found was a situation that I'm in right now. It's actually quite challenging, but it was actually triggering me, a trauma in my life from the past that was really causing me a lot of inner turmoil, right? And part of me was just like, I can't do this at all, right? But I knew, like, I know that um I do need to be involved to some extent at this point. But the question I had to ask myself was, you can't do what you're doing right now. So what is it that you can do?
Mhm.
Right? So I really started looking at, okay, what would be manageable for me? What would be something that would be acceptable? And then I said, okay, well, this is what I am able to do, and I cannot go further than this. Right? And thankfully enough, the people who were involved were able to adjust and were able to say, okay, we'll work with what you're willing to do. And, that brought a lot of peace. Brought a lot of, because before that it was just chaotic, chaos all the time. I had no sense of that I would have any time to get my work done or anything else, right? And it was just like, now, the most important days of my week I have back.
Mhm.
And that's really important to me. And, I actually just got a text message a day ago, someone requesting more of me. And I'm like, I still haven't replied because I don't know what to say. I'm still trying to, determine for myself, like, what boundary do I need to place here and how am I going to do that? And I still don't know what the answer is, but I have to figure it out quickly. But this is the thing, like, these moments in life pop up all the time, right? You get this message, even if it's someone's birthday or whatever, and it's just like, we might be so quick to say, "Yeah, I'll do that for you," or "Yes, I can do that," or I'll do that errand for you." But we need to slow down and really consider, is this what we want? And if not, be willing to put up those boundaries. And when people put up boundaries with us, we need to be willing to say, "Okay, I respect that.
Mhm.
I'll step back. I'll give you your space. I will, regroup or reevaluate what I need to do about this situation," right? Because boundaries go both ways. It's not just
Mhm.
about me having boundaries towards other people. Other people have boundaries for me too, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of something that I learned this weekend, and that was a friend of mine actually didn't put up a boundary, but I thought they had. So I gave them the space I thought they requested, but they didn't realize that's why I was giving them space. So maybe verify with the person themselves if you've heard it secondhand to make sure that is actually their boundary with you before you just dive in and do it. Otherwise, they might think you've abandoned them like she thought I did with her. So it's handy to verify if you get it secondhand that, oh, this person just needs space, so give them their space. Don't reach out to them. Don't, maybe just reach out to the person once and say, hey, I heard this. Is this what you'd like? Because it's okay to ask that question. That's something
Absolutely.
I learned this weekend.
Yeah, I mean that's really important too because we can misread things. We can misinterpret things and so getting clarity, clarifying, asking more questions and then making decisions accordingly, I think is important.
Yeah, but she was impressed at how well I respected her boundary, though, if that was her boundary. And then she
Hmm.
felt honored because she was like, oh, well, that's actually pretty amazing.
Right.
So, it is a pretty powerful thing when you respect someone's boundaries because then they know, okay, I'm safe with you. I can say this and I know I'm safe with you. And you'll feel the same way when you put up a boundary and someone's instantly like, no problem. You'll be like, okay, I'm safe with this person. This person isn't going to try to push, push, push. They're just going to let me do what I need to do for me. And it's amazing.
I there was a quote I once read about boundaries that really resonates with me, and I want to read it. Boundaries. If someone throws a fit because you set a boundary, it's just more evidence that that boundary is needed. And
Mm-hmm.
I've literally had people who, when I had to set a boundary, they lost it,
Mm-hmm.
right? They manifested, their true colors came out, and it's in that moment that you're like, okay, I thought my boundary was only going this far, but actually it needs to go twice as far away, right? Like we need to establish this boundary even more so than I originally thought, right? Because, the only person that is getting the advantage when we don't have boundaries is the person who is taking from us, right? And so when we put those boundaries in place, it's those people that are going to have a fit. They're going to freak out. They're going to have an issue with it, right? And when I first started setting boundaries, there was a few people in my life, they had an issue with my boundaries. And it took time, it took consistency, it took me keeping myself consistent and staying true to what I said before they realized, okay, she means this. She's not relenting. Like this is the new normal, right? And so have the ability to stay true to what you're saying and stick it out the long haul, even if people lose their mind, right? People will potentially get all up in arms about boundaries because, they will lose something as a result of it because they're getting benefit from whatever they're getting from you, you know?
And if they try to push past your boundary, have consequences
Mhm.
because and follow through with them because it's very effective.
Yeah.
If I knew that somebody was going to push my boundaries, I've put consequences, and every time I followed through, that was the end of them pushing that boundary,
Yeah.
and that was over. They stopped pushing it. They totally respected it after that. So if you know this person is a pusher on those boundaries, set a consequence because
Mhm.
it will deter those pushers, and even if they push, follow through, and you will see it change.
Yeah.
So if
So
somebody's
true.
verbally abusive on the phone, for an example, then you say, okay, if our conversation turns this direction, I will immediately hang up
Mhm.
and I will not answer your call for 24 hours. That is your consequence of treating me that way on the phone.
Yeah.
And then do it. Don't answer their phone call for 24 hours. Put them on block if you have to, because you can unblock them later. Like, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And you'll see they will stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah, if it's a valuable relationship and they want to maintain that relationship, they will stop and they'll still be there after the fact, right? But if it's someone who literally has not been in it for mutual benefit, they've just been there to mooch off you and to take advantage of you, they might be, they might just leave your life. And that's okay. That would actually be for the betterment of you, right? If you place a boundary and someone's not okay with it, and then they're like, that's it, I'm gonna have nothing to do with you. Well, guess what? That is probably the best thing for you. And you're gonna find so much more peace and freedom as a result of that, and no longer have to even worry about that. So, if that is one of your concerns about putting up boundaries, um, will I even have this friendship later? Well, you'll actually find out who your true friends are through this whole process. Those that respect your boundaries and are still there after the fact, after you've set them and after you've had consequences for them, those are your true friends. The ones that are like, Kate, you're not worth it. I'm out of here. You know what? I'm not going to listen to you or whatever. Well, those are the people that were only in it for what they could get from you, not a mutual relationship, right? And so that's important to even consider as well. And don't be afraid of that happening.
And in a way, they've taken your boundary line and just taken it so much further because they've completely removed themselves from your life, right? So
Mhm.
in a way, it's like, okay, I only asked for this much and you gave me the world, thank you. Like, because those people are usually very toxic to our lives, and as soon as they're gone, you actually feel relief, which is pretty incredible.
Mhm. Another thing that just came to mind, remember when we were kids and on the fridge, mom had this poster that said "No" is a complete sentence,
Mm,
or like what part of no don't you understand,
yeah.
right? Sometimes
She had both of
that's
those on there, yeah.
sometimes that's the mindset that we have to have. Like, no, that's not okay. I am not okay with you doing that or saying that or treating me like that or doing those things in my life. Like that is not okay. And we need to be willing to say no.
Hmm. And don't be afraid of hurting people's feelings. I've I've had a lot of practice with this, and Laura's so right about the true friends. They won't be hurt. They might
Mhm.
get stung at first, but once they realize that you're actually able to be more present with them after, they'll see why, and they will come around if they're true friends. So it's okay. Be brave. It's good. It'll
Mhm.
be a good thing for you.
Setting healthy boundaries is actually an act of love towards ourselves,
Mhm.
right? And recognizing that we have a need for personal space, mutual respect within relationships. It really does protect our mental health, emotional health. It guards us from overextending ourselves and not being able to be present in the moment for the things that truly matter. And so boundaries actually impacts all aspects of our life. It's not just, one area. When we set boundaries and we start learning how to set boundaries, it improves all areas of our life. And if you haven't been one that is able to do that or has even tried or even maybe the thought of putting up boundaries causes you, anxiety and fear, I encourage you to step out and try it. Try with something small, right? Try with something that's so small and so insignificant and then do the next bigger thing. Like work up to those big decisions, work up to those big moments. Get your confidence, get your courage, but be consistent and do it and learn how to walk with boundaries because it will be boundaries, I would say, aside from God and my friends, it's a good friend to me. I need boundaries. Boundaries are my friend. They are not my enemy, they are my friend.
Definitely. I would agree with that 100%. And, if you think about when you have children, right? Like if you're a teacher or even take your kids to the park, you give them boundaries of where they're allowed to be because you're looking out for their safety. You want them to be secure. You want them to be like not hit by a car or whatever. Those boundaries are meant to keep them safe. So if you think about that for ourselves, how do we keep ourselves safe in this world where people can take advantage of you, where people can act in crazy ways based on what's going on in their lives and in their worlds, right? Like you have to be able to protect yourself just like you would protect your kids, right? And so think of it in those terms too, like what do I need for myself to feel safe? Because you need to
Mhm.
feel safe every day in order to be the best of who you are. And to be the best of who you are is what people need, right? So in your job, in your calling, in your family, in every area of your life, people need your best. And the only way they're going to get that is if you're safe, right? And if
Mhm.
there are people who are causing you to feel unsafe, that's where you need to create strong boundaries because you need to protect yourself.
Have you ever heard this quote? Walls keep everybody out, but boundaries teach them where the door is.
No, but that's amazing. I love
I
that.
just I just found that it says unknown. Walls keep everybody out, but boundaries teach them where the door is. That is
Mm,
incredible.
I
That,
love
that's one
that.
that's one that has to be put on the wall.
For sure. For sure. Because it's not meant to keep people out, but it's meant to have that healthy space with them.
Hmm. Yeah, to guide relationships and say this is what's tolerable and this is what's not. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I love you and I love you enough to say to you, you know what? This part's not working for me, but if we do it this way, then things are going to be good, right? It's totally that's such a good picture. Walls keep everybody out, but boundaries teach them where the door is. Because our goal isn't to destroy relationships. Our goal is to make them stronger, better, more life-giving for both people, right? It's not about shutting people out. It's about doing what's best for ourselves, but also the people on the receiving end of that, right?
Well, like you said, boundaries work both ways. And for those of you out there who are like, I don't like conflict, I don't like this at all, I don't want to talk to anyone about anything, I don't want to do this, I challenge you that this is not necessarily conflict. Okay?
Mhm.
This is you simply saying, this is okay, this is not okay. And if you do this that is not okay, there's a consequence. That's all it is.
Mhm.
It's not causing a conflict. It's not trying to start an argument. It's simply, this is not okay in my life. And I'm putting up a boundary because this isn't okay. And that's okay to do.
Yeah, and I think it's easier to be on the receiving end of it if you come with the mindset of this is what I need, not
Mhm.
you. You overstep your boundaries. You do this to me all the time. You take advantage of me. Like those are not the languaging we're asking you to use. We're
Exactly.
saying, evaluate in your life what it is that you need, right? And say, in this situation, this is the way I need you to relate to me. Or like you said,
Mhm.
that phone call. If you can't speak respectfully on the phone without swearing or maligning my character, well, then we won't talk on the phone, right? Um, unless you can talk to me in a respectful manner, we won't have these conversations, right? That's a boundary. But you're not saying you are an awful person. How dare you swear at me? How dare you do those things? You're bringing to light the behavior and how it's impacting you negatively, and you're just saying this isn't working for me. And the way that I need this relationship to move forward is is for it to go this way, right? And so be mindful that we're not coming to attack the other person. We're coming to clearly communicate what it is that we desire and what we need in that relationship so that it can move forward in a healthy way.
100%. Because if you come in accusing somebody of something, they're just going to put defensive walls up, and that's when people get triggered all over the place, and it's not healthy for either person. So, because a lot of times when we accuse people, we don't know their motives, we don't know their actions, we don't even know their thoughts. We think we do because we've
Mhm.
seen the outcome of it, but we aren't them. And so anytime you say you're assuming you know. And there's sometimes where it's an environmental thing that's impacting them and they're responding, and it has nothing to do with their character, but now you've called out some negative thing in their character that isn't even true. And so be careful with that, right? Always come up from a place of me, right? I need
Yeah.
this and this is why, right? Like if you even want to give a why, you don't have to give a why. Like
Yeah. That's true.
don't give a why if you don't have to. But if it's like, if I'm making a boundary with my husband, I'll give him a why, because otherwise he'll just pester me until I do, because he wants to know everything. But anyway, that's him. But most of the time, you don't even have to give a why. Just like when we were saying about no, you don't have to tell them why you're saying no, right? Like
Mhm.
it's okay to have a boundary without telling why. Just say, I need this for me,
Mhm.
for my mental health, or
Yeah.
for me, period. I need this.
Yeah. Yeah, so boundaries are so important, and it's something that if if you're feeling resentment, you're feeling frustrated, feeling overwhelmed, every time that one person comes to you with a request, you get aggravated and like just so angry inside. Those are warning signs that you need to establish some boundaries and listen to those things. Pay attention to it.
Or even if you're like screening their calls, that's a good sign right there.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So pay attention to those things and then really sit down and just ask yourself, what is it that I need? What would work best for me? And how can I communicate that in a way that will be effective and that that person will hear what I have to say?
Mhm. Because if you don't, it will cause permanent damage in your relationship, because that resentment will just continue to grow.
And for the most part, I think those people are in your life because you want them to be there. There are a few
Mhm.
exceptions to that, but I would say for the most part, the people we have in our life, we want in our life, and we don't want those relationships to end. And so we need to, deal with this in a way to preserve relationship and to have honor within our relationships. And so that's why, we come with that, almost humility, right? Like, I'm not here coming to attack you. I'm just coming to say I have a need, and this is how it would be best to fulfill that need that I have, right?
For sure.
Well, once again, we are here. If this is an issue that for you and you're like, I so need boundaries, but I just don't even know where to start, you know, we would love to talk to you. And we have some mentors at the No One Stands Alone Foundation. You can feel free to reach out to us and book with any one of our mentors. And we'll listen and we'll chat with you. We'll give you some strategies. We'll give you some ideas of how you can start setting up some boundaries in your life, how you can set yourself up for success, and how you can say no to things that aren't serving you, that aren't based on what's important for you and what you need in this season. And I guarantee you, if you start doing this, you're going to see things shift. You're going to have more peace in your life. There will be less chaos. There will be less frustration. And so, yeah, if this is something that you're struggling with and you need someone to just walk with you through it, feel free to reach out to us here at the No One Stands Alone Foundation. And you can book online with us on our website at nosafoundation.com. And you know what? Don't miss an opportunity to get the help and the support that you need. So, once again, thank you for joining us here at the NOSA Unleashed podcast, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.